Hey folks, welcome back. In this video we're going to go over 6 worked examples to show you how to do problems involving path difference, order number and wavelength. Now if you haven't already done so, check out my previous videos covering path difference, order number and wavelength, as watching these videos will help you apply what you learned to this video. So let's get started. Question 1 says water waves of the same frequency are generated from two coherent point sources S1 and S2. The diagram below shows the positions of the wave crests after 4 complete waves have been generated. So there's the sources S1 and S2, and we've got these circular wave patterns produced and they're overlapping. We've then got point X labelled here, point Y here and point Z here. It then says the wavelength of the waves is 10 mm. Part A says explain in terms of waves why a maximum in the interference pattern is produced at point X. Well, if we look at point X, we've got two semicircular lines overlapping, and remember we're saying these show the position of the wave crests. So we must have a crest meeting a crest at point X, and therefore it must be a point of constructive interference. So we can say that two wave crests overlap at point X, i.e. the waves arrive in phase. Part B says to write down the relationship between path difference and wavelength for maxima. Well, remember from the theory video, we have that for maxima, path difference equals m lambda, where m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on. Part C says explain in terms of waves why a minimum is produced at point Y. Well, if we look back at the picture, we can see point Y shows one semicircular line overlapping with a point between two semicircular lines. And remember we have that in between two wave crests will be a trough. So here at point Y, we have a wave crest meeting a wave trough, and therefore it must be a point of destructive interference. So we can say that a wave crest meets a wave trough at point Y, i.e. the waves arrive out of phase. Part D then says write down the relationship between path difference and wavelength for minima. Well, remember from the theory that for minima, path difference equals m plus a half times lambda, where m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on. Lastly, part E says for point Z, calculate the path difference between waves arriving from S1 and waves arriving from S2. Well, first we want to find the path lengths from S1 to Z, which we could label S1Z, and the length from S2 to Z, which we could label S2Z. So looking back at the picture, what you could do is take your ruler and draw a line from S1 to point Z here, and then you can do the same from S2 to point Z. And if we do that now, we can count how many wavelengths we have appearing between the crests shown in this distance. So from S1 to the first crest, that's one wavelength. We then have crest to crest, which is another wavelength, crest to crest here, which is another wavelength, and crest to crest here, which is another wavelength. So we have 4 wavelengths in the space from S1 to Z. And then we can do the same for the distance from S2 to Z. So here we have from the source to the first crest, that's one wavelength, crest to crest here, that's another wavelength, and lastly crest to crest here, that's one more wavelength. So we have 3 wavelengths from S2 to Z. So we can say that S1Z is equal to 4 wavelengths, and because we know the wavelength in the question here, we can say that's 4 times 10, which is 40 millimeters. And remember we said the distance S2Z was 3 wavelengths, so that's the same as 3 times 10, which is 30 millimeters instead. And we can now calculate the path difference, and remember that's just the difference between the distances travelled. So we have that path difference equals S1Z minus S2Z, which is equal to 40 minus 30, which is equal to 10 millimeters. Question 2 says in the setup below, a microphone is moved to the first minimum at Y. So here we have a signal generator with 2 loudspeakers attached, and we've got point X directly in the middle, and then a microphone at this first minimum Y, which is connected to an oscilloscope. And we've also got some path lengths labelled for us, 2.14 meters to get from loudspeaker 2 to point Y, and we've got 1.8 meters to get from loudspeaker 1 to point Y. Part A says to determine the path difference between the two waves. Well, we can write the path difference here as being equal to the loudspeaker 2 to point Y, L2Y, minus loudspeaker 1 to point Y, which is L1Y. And notice how I've done the bigger path take away the smaller path. So I've written it as L2Y minus L1Y instead of L1Y minus L2Y. Now all we need to do is sub in the values for the two path lengths. So we have 2.14 minus 1.8, and putting that into your calculator or doing it in your head should give you an answer of 0.34 meters. Part B says to calculate the wavelength of the sound waves. Well, because we're told that point Y is the first minimum, then we want to use the equation for path difference here for minima. So we can say for minima, path difference is equal to m plus a half lambda, where m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on. And we've already worked out the path difference in part A there, so we can sub that in and say this is 0.34 is equal to 0 for the first order minimum. And remember that's from the theory video on path difference, order number, and wavelength, where we said that the first order minimum is actually at m equals 0, not when m equals 1. And because we've got 0 here, this just simplifies to a half lambda, or a half times the wavelength, is equal to 0.34. So to get lambda on its own, we just need to multiply both sides by 2. So we get lambda is equal to 0.68 meters. Lastly, part C says loudspeaker 1 is now disconnected. What happens to the amplitude of the sound detected by the microphone at Y? Explain your answer. Well, if you look back at the picture, we're seeing loudspeaker 2 is now disconnected, so we only have one loudspeaker producing sound waves. And if that's the case, we could say the amplitude detected at Y increases, and this is because there are no longer two coherent sources of sound waves, so no interference occurs. So we would no longer detect a quieter sound at that minimum because it's no longer a minimum since there's no interference pattern, so it must be a louder sound that is detected. Question 3 says microwaves of wavelength 30mm pass through two gaps between metal plates as shown. So we've got our microwave source, gap 1, gap 2, and then two path lengths, and we've then got some point J where the microwave detector is and another point K. And it says the distance from gap 1 to point J is 425mm, and the distance from gap 2 to point J is 500mm. Part A says determine whether J is a point of constructive or destructive interference. Justify your answer by calculation. Well, what we want to do here is first find the path difference. And looking at the picture, because the distance from gap 2 to J is bigger than the distance from gap 1 to J, I'm going to label the path difference G2J minus G1J, where G just stands for gap. So we could say the path difference is equal to G2J minus G1J, and subbing in the numbers from the question, we have 500 minus 425, which gives us 75mm for the path difference. And now we're in a position to use either equation for maxima or minima to check whether m is an integer. That's our strategy here. So if we use the equation for path difference for maxima and we find that m is an integer, and that would make sense, which would suggest that point J is a point of constructive interference. However, if we use the equation for maxima and we found that m was not an integer, then that would not make sense because m should always be an integer for these equations. So in that case, it would tell us it was a point of destructive interference instead. So let's try using the equation for maxima, but you could also do this using the equation for minima. So we can say that for maxima, path difference equals m lambda, where m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on. And the path difference we just worked out was 75, so that's equal to m times 30, where 30mm is our wavelength from the question. And if we divide both sides by 30, we get m equals 2.5. And this doesn't make sense because we said that m should always be an integer. So we can say this is not an integer, i.e. m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on, so the point cannot be a point of constructive interference, because we've used the equation for constructive interference and it's not worked out. So therefore, J must be a point of destructive interference. And lastly, note we could have used the equation for minima to find that m equals 2, i.e. an integer. So if we used the equation for minima and found that m was an integer, then that would suggest that point J is a point of destructive interference, because it would have worked out. Part B says the microwave detector is now moved to K, which is a point of destructive interference. Gap 1 is then covered with a sheet of metal. Does the strength of the signal detected at K increase, decrease, or stay the same? Justify your answer. So looking back at the picture, here's our point K, and we're saying that if gap 1 was covered, what would be detected by the microwave detector at point K? Well, because point K is another point of destructive interference, when the two gaps are open, we would be detecting a weaker signal. However, if we cover up gap 1, then there's no longer an interference pattern being produced, and therefore the strength of the microwave signal detected at K should increase, because there's no longer any minima occurring. So we could say the strength of the signal increases, and that's because two coherent sources of waves are required for interference to occur. There's no longer any interference taking place when you cover up one of the gaps. Question 4 says S1 and S2 are sources of coherent waves. An interference pattern is obtained between X and Y. So there's our two sources, and there's X to Y. And it says the first order maximum occurs at point P, where S1P equals 200mm and S2P equals 180mm. So there's our central maximum labelled in the middle, then got our first order maximum P, and Q and R are shown there, which are going to be other maxima. Part A says which order maximum occurs at R? Well, if that's m equals 0 in the middle, we'll then get m equals 1 for P, m equals 2 for Q, and therefore m equals 3 for R. So we could say that R is a third order maximum where m equals 3. Part B says determine the path difference S1R minus S2R. Well, notice how we're given information about point P, but not about point R. So we know the distance from S1 to P here is 200mm, and the distance from S2 to P is only 180mm. So we can first use the information regarding point P to find the wavelength, and then once we know the wavelength, we can use the equation for path difference for maxima to find the path difference involving R. So we can say that for maxima, path difference equals m lambda, where m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on. And in this case, the bigger distance is S1P, so we'll start with that. S1P minus S2P equals m lambda, and we want to find the wavelength, so we do our 200 minus 180, which gives us 20, is equal to 1 times lambda. And we're using m equals 1 here since P is the first order maximum. So 1 times the wavelength is simply just the wavelength lambda, so we have that lambda equals 20mm. And now we can calculate the path difference for R instead. So we have the S1R minus S2R, and notice how I'm starting with S1 to R because that distance will be bigger than the distance from S2 to R. So we have S1R minus S2R equals m lambda. Substituting in the numbers for m and lambda, well, we said that r is m equals 3, so that's 3 times 20, where the lambda being 20 millimeters is what we just worked out. And if you do 3 times 20 in your head or in a calculator, that should give you 60 millimeters. Question 5 says two identical sources of microwaves S1 and S2 are positioned a short distance apart as shown. So there's our two sources, and there's point P, and we've got X to Y shown here. We've got the central maximum shown in the middle, and then point X where the detector is. And it says the student moves a microwave detector from X towards Y. The reading on the meter increases and decreases regularly. Part A says explain in terms of waves what causes the minimum readings to occur. Well, remember, a minimum or point of destructive interference will occur when the crest of one wave meets the trough of another, or when the two waves are completely out of phase. Part B says the third maximum from the central maximum is located at P. The distance from S1 to P is 620 millimeters, and the wavelength of the waves is 28 millimeters. Calculate the distance from S2 to P. So if we look back at the picture, we're told the distance from S1 to P is 620 millimeters, and we're told that point P is the third order maximum. Notice how the distance going from S2 to P will be greater than the distance from S1 to P. So when we're writing the path difference in terms of S2P and S1P, I'm going to start with S2P because that's the bigger number. And we're going to use the equation for maxima here, so we could say that for maxima, path difference equals m lambda, where m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on. So writing this in terms of S1P and S2P, we have S2P minus S1P equals m lambda. Substituting in the numbers gives S2P minus 620 is equal to 3 times 28, where lambda is the wavelength that we're told in the question, m equals 3 because we're talking about the third order maximum, and the distance S1P was mentioned in the question here as well. So we want to find S2P. So what you can do is 3 times 28 in your calculator and then add 620 to both sides. So we have 3 times 28 plus 620 should give you an answer of 704 millimeters. And that makes sense because we said S2P should be greater than S1P. Lastly, question 6 says microwaves are emitted from a microwave source and pass through two gaps A and B in a metal plate. The gaps are the same size. A microwave detector at point C detects a minimum. The distance AC is 61 centimeters and the distance BC is 51 centimeters. Part A says to sketch this situation. Well, drawing the left hand side, first of all, we have our two slits which we could label A and B, and then we have our screen at the right hand side where we could label our point C. And we're saying that the microwave detector will be positioned at point C to detect the strength of the microwave signal. And we can then draw our distances from A to C and from B to C. So going from A to C, we have a distance of 61 centimeters as mentioned in the question, and the distance from B to C will be a distance of 51 centimeters. Lastly, part B says if the wavelength of the microwaves from the source is 4 centimeters, determine the order number m of the minimum. Well, because we're talking about minima here, we're going to use the equation for minima, which is path difference equals m plus a half lambda, where m equals 0, 1, 2, and so on. So substituting in our expression for path difference here, we have AC minus BC equals m plus a half lambda, where we're starting with AC because that distance is greater than the one for BC. And we know that that is 61 minus 51, which will give us 10 on the left hand side, and that is equal to m plus a half times 4, where 4 centimeters is your wavelength. So we've got 10 and 4 are both in centimeters here, and expanding the brackets we have 10 equals 4m plus 4 times a half, which is 2. So 4m plus 2 equals 10, and then taking 2 away from both sides we have 4m equals 8, and then dividing both sides by 4 will give you 8 divided by 4, which is 2, so m equals 2. That's all for this video, folks. Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.